We are back on episode 6 of the Y Ball Starters. How do you guys feel after that segment of emotionally emptying ourselves and apologizing to the team that we should have been much more loyal to?
I feel great. I cried for 45 minutes during the break.
Me too. And it was only a 30-second
totally
break, so that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard.
Yeah, I cried a lot too. What can I say? I'm only human.
I didn't cry at all, but
You're heartless.
I am emotionally a limited person. Well, hey, like I mentioned before the break, a couple weeks ago when we had Kendall's cousin Sam Geiger on, we all shared our all-star starters. This week we came back, made a few tweaks to our own based on the past week's performance and using our eyes, and came up with some updated starters as well as some reserves, and also a replacement for a guy that would be on all of our rosters, Anthony Davis, because as many fans know, he is going to be out for a while. Anyhow, let's get down to it. I'm curious. Hey, Kendall, do you want to go? Let's start with the West. Let us know if your starters have changed at all, and remind us of who they are, and then hop into your reserves.
Yeah, so actually in the West, outside of Anthony Davis, I didn't really have a whole lot that needed to be changed. The East, I tweaked some things up, though, because I had all three of Brooklyn Stars on there, which is not logical or realistic.
Sure.
Currently in the West, I've got Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. And then in the East, I've got, I did this out of order for some reason, but I've got Trae Young, Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Gotcha. And were any of those changed from 2 weeks ago?
Yes. I took out Harden and Kyrie just because they're kind of having some chemistry issues, and Kyrie missed too many games. So I realized that that's not really a fair reason to put him in, even though he is playing really well and he's definitely a reserve. I put Trae Young in over him just because he's been healthy, and his team hasn't been great this year, but Trae Young's been phenomenal. And then I also put in Jaylen Brown over James Harden. Just again, the East is just so mediocre right now. It's hard to find many good teams. So
yeah. And for the listeners at home, just for context, sharing our all-star starters, we'll get to our reserves in a second. John, who are your starters, and did you make any tweaks from 2 weeks ago?
Yes. So, and I might have to make another apology. I apologize to Dame for not having him be an all-star starter.
Yeesh.
But I did remedy that replacing Luka with Dame. So now my Western starters lineup. Oh, and replacing Paul George with Kawhi since the injury. So now my Western starters read Steph, Dame, LeBron, Kawhi, and Jokic. And then in the East, I traded Tatum and Durant. So it's now Trae, Beal, Giannis, Durant, and Embiid.
Okay.
So pretty similar to Kendall's.
Okay. Well, in the West, mine actually did not change. I am still rolling with Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. In the East, I actually have four the same. Like 2 weeks ago, I've got Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. I decided to be a little edgy last time, be a little controversial, and I said that Colin Sexton should be an all-star starter. I watched one game of Cleveland. It was a game against Portland a few nights ago, and I was like, well, I was wrong on that. Cleveland's a bad team, and all-star starters should be on teams that are at least half decent. So I'm replacing him with the guy I think is pretty deserving, Trae Young. Trae had a bit of a slump earlier, but overall, absolutely phenomenal year, as you guys will find out in a second. I actually don't even have Colin Sexton making an all-star team at all. He's not even on my next 2 hours. So what can I say?
Oof.
It was an attempt at being controversial and edgy that backfired in my face for all 10 people that listened to that episode.
That's very... Yeah, that's going to be a bad look on you, Drew.
That's pretty embarrassing, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Well, hey, let's just keep it in the Western Conference for now. and move on to our reserves. Again, just Western Conference for now. Maybe give us some reasoning. So there are some perennial all-stars that we have on our all-star rosters, I'm assuming. I'll just say them now. Anthony Davis and Paul George are guys that are all-stars, but are hurt and will probably miss the game.
Yep.
So maybe if we could also share a couple replacements that we would have for those two guys, as well as listing those guys, and then give us a little bit of why you picked those fellows to be in the all-star game that we all agree probably shouldn't be played. Kendall, West reserves.
Honestly, I didn't realize that we were going to be touching the reserves too, so I didn't really update that super well. I've got Stephen Curry in there. I've got Devin Booker in there. I've got CJ's probably not going to play. I had McCollum CJ last time. He's probably not going to be in there. Paul George is injured, so he's not going to be playing in it, I don't think either. I got Rudy Gobert. I got Donovan Mitchell. I got Zion Williamson. Honestly, I would probably put, maybe like Brandon Ingram in, possibly. Somebody else to put in might be like, I kind of have to think about that just because that's a lot of depth lost without Anthony Davis, Paul George, and CJ.
Yeah, 100%.
If it makes you feel any better, Kendall, I just now found my replacement, and I had to search for players, especially having to replace both Paul George and Davis. I had to search for a last player.
Yeah.
Who do you have?
It was tough for me. Yeah, John, who are your reserves?
So my reserves are Luka Doncic, obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Gobert, Devin Booker, Zion, and this is where I get a little fun and funky with the replacements. Replacing Paul George, I have John Morant, a rising star. I'm not 100% sure that he necessarily deserves it, but he is the best player on Memphis who is competing for a playoff spot. So in the Western Conference, in his second year, that is impressive. This one I think is way more controversial. Replacing AD, I have DeMar DeRozan.
Interesting.
And he has had a huge year. He's averaging 21, 6, and 7 this year.
Wow.
He switched from shooting guard to power forward on the Spurs.
What?
Yeah, he plays power forward for them. They start Aldridge at the center and DeRozan at the 4.
I didn't even know that. And I watched them play a game.
They are currently, I believe, a playoff team in the West.
They are.
Yep.
They're the 6th seed. They're 16 and 11. And as weird as it is to say, I think DeMar might be a Western Conference All-Star this year.
Interesting.
You got to hand it to him. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Never would have expected it.
Good on him switching positions.
Yeah.
I know. Wow.
Well, obviously, sans injuries, I would have had Paul George and Anthony Davis as locks, and they still, because the NBA does name players and then name replacements, which is what I would do here. I would name Paul George and Anthony Davis as all-stars and give them replacements.
Oh, absolutely.
Outside of them, I said pretty consistent to what you guys have said. Luka for sure. Zion's been fantastic. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Devin Booker round out my reserves. I too am replacing Anthony Davis with DeMar DeRozan. Actually, I saw stats 21, 6, and 7, and
that's really good.
They're a playoff team. You have to reward good performances on good teams.
Yeah.
And I got Utah is on fire right now. I already gave Mitchell and Gobert the spots that they deserve. I am giving an all-star nod to Mike Conley to replace Paul George. Mike Conley has just been phenomenal, and Utah has the best record in the NBA right now. So I think you have to reward that, especially in a year where there's injuries.
Low key, somebody who possibly could deserve it, and this is way off the radar, you could make an argument for Jordan Clarkson.
I knew you were going to say Jordan Clarkson. I love Jordan Clarkson.
He's averaging,
that dude's balling out.
He actually just scored 40 points tonight against Philadelphia. He's shooting 45% from the field, and he's averaging 17.4 points a game. But it's more that's within his role that he plays in. So he's not playing as many minutes as a starter. He's only playing about 26 minutes a game, and he's averaging 17.5 points a game. So,
and if you watch Utah play, Jordan Clarkson comes there and just absolutely cooks anyone that's on him. It's awesome. Like he is so fun to watch. They're a really fun team, to be honest. I'm really excited for Utah. And they're 18-1 in their last 19.
They just won tonight, so yeah, I think
20 or 19-1 their last 20.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
They're on fire. Another guy that I'd like to shout out, even though he maybe won't make an all-star team, but he at least deserves to be recognized because he's on a team that is right now better than their record. They're barely below 500. De'Aaron Fox is averaging 23.5 points, 7 assists, and the Kings, they look better. Their defense is terrible, but they look like an improved team. They're just going to keep growing those paces, and De'Aaron Fox seems like he's a guy you can build around, or at least be a key part of a future. De'Aaron Fox is a good player, and
100%.
Shout him out.
Yeah.
Hey, moving on to the East, Kendall, who you got coming off your bench in the East?
Coming off the bench in the East, I just kind of realized that I had Giannis over Embiid, which is probably a mistake. But for the sake of this, I've got Embiid coming off, Harden, LaVine, Kyrie Irving, Sabonis, Domantas Sabonis, Chris Middleton, and Ben Simmons. And then Fred VanVleet. I'd still put him in there. He's had some really good performances. He's been a big catalyst of Toronto even staying somewhat competitive in the East, which isn't that hard to do. But
yeah, I hear you. How about you, John?
Kendall made a good point, but I think I'll stay with him. I have Jaylen Brown. I mean, he is arguably as good as Tatum now. He's crazy good. I have James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I mean, they're super good. They're locks. Jason Tatum, Domantas Sabonis, who I think it's too bad that Embiid's had such a monster year, because if Embiid hasn't had a monster year, I think Sabonis starts at center. He's had an absurd year. He is crazy good. I have Ben Simmons as well, and then Zach LaVine as well. I didn't even think of Chris Middleton, to be honest, but I kind of want to replace LaVine with him because he's just uber efficient. Like, his efficiency is like just mind-boggling. He had a 50-40-90 year last year, and I believe he's again on pace to do it. I don't know if anyone's done it 2 years in a row.
God, now that's a guy who
if anyone has, it's Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton is absurd.
Yep, definitely shout out to Chris Middleton in mine. I've got Kyrie Irving and James Harden off mine. I've got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for the reasons those guys set up above. Boston is struggling a bit right now, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, just the overall body of work, are certainly deserving of all-stars. I also, of course, have Domantas Sabonis, former GU guy who's just killing it. He's the best former Gonzaga player in the pros right now.
Yep, absolutely.
I do have Zach LaVine in there, and I rounded out with Ben Simmons. As you can see, I didn't even mention Colin Sexton there. That's how fast quickly I am retracting that. Another couple of guys that I want to acknowledge are having good seasons that we haven't talked about yet. One is Julius Randle in New York.
Yes.
Having a phenomenal season, scored 44, like John mentioned. And another guy, believe it or not, that's having a great season is Gordon Hayward in Charlotte.
Yeah, he has.
So what can I say? The NBA is full of talent, and that just makes me happy. Does that make you guys happy?
It makes me joyous.
Absolutely. What I think is craziness is that only under 100 days ago, the Heat were playing in the NBA Finals. None of us probably even considered any players on them for an All-Star game.
Only guy I'd consider is Bam.
Yeah, and it wasn't close. It wasn't that close. That's what's so crazy. Like, the NBA is so crazy. Like, 100 days ago, we have this team playing for the finals, and then, I mean, and part of it is because Bam and Jimmy haven't played a ton this year.
Yeah,
and not like together either. But it is kind of funny to see how fast the tides turn. Like, the Heat are like 12th in the East right now.
Yeah, they're middling. They're middling for sure. Let's see on that, John.
I know there's somewhere that it's hard because the NBA right now is super jam packed. Like I know the West,
they're
5 games separate.
They're up
to
to 10
okay
right now. Yeah, but they're
and
just
they
as easy
will make the playoffs. They're gonna figure it out.
The bubble definitely had a huge impact on this season.
100%, except on the Lakers apparently.
Yeah, I was really thinking that might be LeBron starting to slow down, but turns out I was wrong. But I'm not going to apologize for that.
Nope. Well, this has been another great episode of the Y Ball Starters. Let's close this episode out by asking you guys who you hope to see on the podcast next week, even though it has to be someone completely unrealistic.
Personally, next week I'm looking forward to having Steve Blake on the podcast.
Yeah, Steve, if you're out there, Steve, if you listen, hit us up. We'll get you on. We'll fit you in next week.
Steve Blake, Blazers legend. He's going to be on the show.
Everyone, I have a bold prediction to make.
Oh, do you?
Next week on the show, we are having Carmelo Anthony. 3 to the dome, baby.
3 to the dome.
3 to the dome.
Oh,
I'll give him my best impression of that.
Well, I will sign us off for now. Make sure, like we plugged earlier, to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube coming soon, Spotify and Apple coming soon. I know we keep promising that, but it'll happen. Tune in next week to see if we do, in fact, have Carmelo Anthony on the podcast. We normally do record on Monday or Tuesday nights, and the Blazers probably have a game. But, I'm sure Carmelo could take a break during halftime to fit us in or something.
For sure.
On that note, whether it's Carmelo or another great guest that's far more realistic, we will sign off for now. Hope everyone listening has a tremendous rest of their day, and we will see you next week.
Dope.